Once again, hello everyone. Good evening to the people who have early joined us and those who have just joined. So I think we are at time and I think that we can start now. So people will come, keep joining us and we can connect with them. So, okay, I'm representing QAI webinar, okay, right now. And this is about agile processes. Let me tell you first of all something about myself. Okay. So I'm 5+ years in agile environment, and yes, I have contributed a lot to 50+ projects in agile and have transformed them into the mindset, because agile is actually about mindset. Portfolio includes my organization, like I work with the top executives for transforming, for identifying their thoughts and how we can scale them into agile way. Business groups, that is about delivery teams. And also with other departments like sales team, marketing team, finance and administration. So that was also a fun part, because usually we practice all these practices, agile practices, into software development, but it was good to like interact with the sales team and the marketing team and finance and administration to talk with them. Okay, also I have helped the organization in setting up the KPIs for them into the way how it should be through using agile. So that was about something about me on a very high level, and about life at work. Yes, I'm an agile consultant at QAI. Now currently I'm providing trainings and coachings to like individuals, to the teams, and also to the group of people when we are invited to the corporates. Also in-house we take the trainings. My specialization is in Scrum, Kanban, and as well as I have handled a lot of distributed teams. Okay, and I hope I'm audible to everybody. Just let me know if by some way if you are not able to hear me correctly. So yeah, and also I'm doing the advisory and consulting, and also impart cross-cultural trainings. So that was about the life at work. And yes, at my home, I'm free thinker first of all, and happily married, and I love cooking, and I'm also a passionate traveler. So that's too much about me. So let's go ahead and talk about the subject. So first of all, this is what the backlog of the webinar. Backlog is a term that we use a lot into agile. So I will be presenting this in form the way how we run agile. So first of all, we will start with a brief history, but yes, it's a long one. I won't take much of your time to bore you on that, but yes, we will talk about the history first. Then yes, it's true philosophy, that is agile manifestos and the disciplines. Then we will go to the awesome practices. There are a lot of practices, although the few famous ones are Scrum, Kanban, XP. And then we will talk about the challenges that we are facing. And finally, we will come up to the conclusions. So let's go ahead. And since it's about agile processes and agile practices, so my entire webinar will be in the form of a Scrum board. That is a webinar board in this context. So the topics right now are here in the leftmost column. Usually in our software development, we used to rename it as to do. And then as I will move ahead, the task will move to different columns, and that's how we will deal with this webinar. So let's go ahead to the next slide. Okay, so I'm starting with long history. Yes, it is 80 years old. It started with IIDD, developed by Dr. W. Edgars Deming, and it stands for Iterative and Incremental Design and Development. That time we didn't have software, but it all started with hardware, and the early adopters were Department of Defense, NASA, and US Air Force. After that, in 1940s, it came with Lean and Kanban. We all know that. It started from Toyota, TFS, and thereafter, David J. Anderson in 2005, he articulated the software development environment for Kanban. And about the Lean software development, I think the credit should go to Mary and Tom Poppendick. They have really identified a lot of things in it, and they helped us in using these practices, which are majorly in manufacturing automobile, to come up to our software development. After that, it was in 1976 when I must say it was time for movement in Agile, when Tom Gilb argued evolutionary development, and he mentioned all these practices into Software Matrix book, the book that he wrote, and that was again the moment when the people have started rethinking about using agile practices. So that was it. And then in 1980s and 90s, we have got few more beautiful practices and processes. That is spiral model, which was developed by Barry Boehm. Then we had rapid prototyping. Then RAD, which was developed by James Martin. RUP, the credit goes to Rachel Software Corp. And that's how we got a lot of things to practice, different flavors to work on, because in between there were other we had the traditional practices like waterfall models. They have also taken up, but these practices, when came, people have started adopting it and getting the benefits out of it. So in 1995, they come Scrum, the thing which we all are majorly using, but it was actually the idea by Hirotaka Takeuchi and Ikujiro Nonaka. Please skip my pronunciation, but yes. And formally it was introduced by Ken Schauber, Jeff Sutherland, and other people. In 1996, we had XP programming, that is extreme programming, and then we have FTD, feature-driven development. And in 2001, that was a time when the 17 developers have gone to the mountain at Utah, and there they have come up with 4 essential values and 12 principles. So that is a brief about the history. So if we say that Scrum is very recent, no, it's not recent. It is 80 years ago than when it was ideated by Edwards Deming. So let's go ahead. Okay, coming back to the webinars board. So we have completed long history, and it's Q&A. You can just ask me the questions. You can write the questions in the chat, or we can take all together later as you wish. I'm comfortable with all. And then I'm now starting with Agile Manifesto. So let's go ahead. The Agile Manifesto, it is very important to learn about it. As I said, Agile Manifesto was developed by these 17 developers who have already done a lot into Agile field, and they have already started creating their own way of processes. And then they realize that before people start misunderstanding it, or traditional practices gets more heavier, they thought, okay, it's time to meet and let's come up with some values, some principles which will remain as a guideline till the time we will talk about agile software development. So the first and the most essential value, and trust me, it is very important to understand this, because when we talk about implementing these values or agile or transform our organization as per the agile values or principles, most of the time we skip it. And I will talk about all the points, what cause to skip, or what because of which we fail in practicing agile in our company. But before that, let's understand the values. First is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. In our organizations, in many teams or in many groups, we realize that we are so much focused in just following the processes, and we are not questioning it. And at times, these tools as well are so much used into the long-term, long-running projects, or as a practice of the best practices into the company, that people usually forget that it's very important that the asset for any organization, group, project or team are the individuals. And also there is nothing better than face-to-face interactions. So that's what they have told, that the first value is we should always consider individuals and interactions. But let me tell you again, I will go through all the points, but before the last line is the most important one. That is, while there is value in the items on the right, we also value the items on the left more. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we are not telling that we are saying that we should absolutely skip processes, tools, and other parts which we will talk about. We understand, we respect it, but our major focus should be on individuals and interactions on the first value. Second is working software over comprehensive documentation. Agile, when the name comes, we have iterative as another point in the mind, and also incremental. So iterative and incremental are the two values which Agile actually, like Agile says that by these practices you can benefit a lot, or you can help the customers in getting the business values what they're expecting. But again, nowhere they have mentioned the iterative and incremental word here in the Agile Manifesto. So still the major focus is working software. So we should not focus on just preparing the documentation as the first phase and then going ahead with the software development lifecycle. Documentation is important. That's why they have used the word comprehensive documentation. But working software is primary thing to take care of. After that, we have customer collaboration over contract negotiation. Lots of time, most of the projects run for longer days just discussing about the contracts. I think we should limit that time and we should think more about what customer wants, how we can add value to the customer's business. So that is what Agile has talked about in the manifesto on the third point. And then responding to change over following a plan. So we don't have to be adamant to change. Change is not bad, it's good, because that way it helps us in align with customers' business values. So I have learned in my experience as well that with this mindset, responding to change and by using the agile practices, it has really helped the projects and also the individuals. But there are methods how we do it, which we're going to discuss later. So let me go ahead to the next slide. Now, okay, coming back to the webinar board, we have talked about Agile Manifesto. Now we are going to talk about the Agile disciplines. Okay, so there are 12 principles as I told. So first is satisfy the customer, early and continuous delivery of valuable software, welcoming changing requirements, that is understandable. Then third is deliver working software frequently, that is incremental. Build projects around motivated individuals, that's very important. We should trust the team, otherwise the team will not give their best. And then we have work together, that's very important. I mean, most of the time we have so many distributed team inside the team, and because of it the collaboration affects and the productivity also affects, because nobody knows actually what they are building. So working together is very important. Then working software, this is the philosophy. In iteration, when we work, our major goal is to deliver a working software at the end of that iteration. Then continuous attention, it's very important, both as per the business requirement aspect and also the technical front. Then promote sustainable development. Yes, that's a very integral part, because that's what even the developers love. Then simplicity is essential. Yes, you don't have to focus on just adding the flowering features. You should majorly focus on creating essential features first. Then self-organizing teams. That is I will say the ultimate goal for any agile team. By spending time together, by practicing agile methods, in the end we should be a self-organizing team. We should know what customer demands. We should have a clear communication among all the team members, stakeholders, and in the end it should be us, it should be team who should drive the project. Then it's adaptable. Yes, at regular intervals the team reflects on how to become more effective. So in agile, as we go in different iterations, we adapt the learnings from the previous one, or we also adapt to the changes that customers give us into the demonstration, and then we take it and then we move ahead, and in the next iteration we have a new learning and then we move ahead. So that is the way how we work in the agile way. Then face-to-face conversation, that is really cream on the cake, because most of the problems that we face in today's environment, in today's software development or anywhere, is communication gap or misunderstanding the requirements. So face-to-face conversation really helps, but it doesn't mean that it is must, but it helps. So these are like some principles what they have told, in which you can add more value to your work environment by using the agile practices. So I'm moving ahead into a webinar board, and we have talked about the disciplines, because I want to save more of our time to discuss about agile processes, but it is very important to just know a brief about agile history. And we learned about manifesto, the 4 principles, and also the few disciplines. We talked about them, which you can also access on the net. It's all there, but my major focus is to tell you guys about agile processes. So let's go ahead and start with agile methods. Before that, we should know the earlier approach and challenges. Okay, so we know the waterfall model, which is also called the relay race model, in which it starts with spending a lot of time analyzing the requirements first. Then we plan for it. Okay, and then that also takes some lot of time, and also then we go ahead and design the solution, and then it starts with development, and then comes the testing phase, and then deployment. And again, in analysis, there are different set of people in planning, other sets of people, and then designs again. So it's like there are lots of challenges, and also there are lots of requirements which are ignored into the practices which traditional approaches say, like waterfall models. So let me tell you a few challenges that we face. It's like changing requirements. Of course, we see that requirements cannot be constant, and it's a fact, and we should accept it, because today's market, we see that there are so much competition. I mean, if the product has to survive, it has to keep evolving. So it's very important that we should accept changing requirements are not bad, but this is one of the big challenge which traditional approaches cannot support. That customers never know exactly what they want. That's true, because as they go ahead and as they get the product in their hand, then they used to know that, okay, this was what we were thinking, and this is not exactly like that, or we want something else. It will not work. It will be out of market. So also incomplete requirements. That's an important point, because you cannot jot down everything, all the aspects of every feature. No, it's not possible. And then real understanding of the requirements from the beginning. So again, not all the people are part of the requirement gathering, and also the people they used to know about the requirement when they get the task in their hand, which is not right, because we should know the background. We should interact directly with the sole owners of the product, but it doesn't happen. So because of it, all the stakeholders, none of them knows exactly like what requirements, or like what all the requirements all about. So that is one thing. Fixing mistakes, I mean, in the later stage is hard to. That's true, because you have already created your entire architecture, and you have set up your database, and you have wrote 1,000 lines of code and more, and now there is some change or some mistakes which has happened which we haven't realized before, and now it will take a lot of time to fix. Yes, that's true. So it is a big challenge and hard to design everything in advance. Yes, it's not possible that you can identify all the scenarios up front. No, it's not. So that is one thing. And also the requirements emerge due to many things, many aspects, like new ideas about an existing feature. Yeah, because as we discussed, as we go ahead, we used to know a lot of things about our product, and by seeing the working software, we identify the improvements. And also, as the requirement keep on changing, or as the business keep on changing, we identify that, okay, these are the features that we want, or we cannot compromise, and then we go ahead and give set our expectations in front of the development team or the entire group, and they suffer, and finally the customer also suffers. And of course, you have to stand the competition and misunderstandings in the requirements, which leads us finally like with a big disappointment from both the sides, the vendor, the development team, the team which is creating the product, and the one who has come up with the ideas. So lots of changes with traditional approaches, but I should not be like very hard on all of them, because I must say the most of the cars in which we are sitting today are built on waterfall models. So it's not that bad, but yeah, in our software requirements, there are lots of challenges that we face. And in today's market, it's so dynamic that definitely to resist, to face it, to fight with this market, you need to adapt, to change. You can't just say no to the changing requirements, although you should have different methods to tackle it. So that was all about other approaches. So what is agile approach, and what are the agile approaches that we're going to use? So just a slide before, I want to talk to you about, just give you a snapshot of agile approach. So here you can see in the iteration one, before that we are getting some backlog. There, like all the phases that we had in the waterfall in the horizontal lane, we have practiced everything in one iteration, and the size of the iteration is like a week to a month max, but usually in most of the organization they practice a week to 2 weeks time. So that is one. And the product, at the end of the iteration, we give demonstration to the customer to get their feedback, and then we get the feedback, we talk among the team that what was our learning from the past iteration, and then with the new requirements from the product owner, that is a person who owns the requirement, okay, we go to the next iterations, and then again the same all phases happens, and deployment doesn't happen just once. There are multiple iterations of the deployment in an iteration. So these are the practices that also we follow, so that the product can be as bug free as it can, and then so on to the last iteration when the entire product is delivered. So this is the way, incremental and iterative. By this approach, we can get connected to our customer, we can get connected to the main goal of the product, we can adapt to change, okay, we bond together as a team, and customer, we win the trust of the customer, because that is what matters a lot. Because if customer trusts, then definitely he can give you time, he can understand your points, and then it will be relaxed and you will add more value to your development. Otherwise, in pressure, the team compromise with the quality, and also majority of the features in the end, which we realized that must be high priority, and due to miscommunication we used to go ahead with the other priorities, and the customer gets so disappointed. So instead of treating these fixed stages, Agilists believe these are continuous activities, and what it gives us are quality, visibility, risk get reduced, and customers get very happy. Yippee. So let's go ahead for the next slide. So yes, these are few agile practices, and trust me, there are many other more, but these are what famous today. So Scrum, Lean, Kanban, XP, Agile Unified Process, and then DSTM, FTD, and others are there like DAD. Okay, so agile methods have similar characteristics. So you should understand this one thing, that agile philosophy has few things which are common to all. So you may think that what is different from this approach to another approach, but in the end, while practicing agile, you can adapt your own practice as well in your process if you think that will add value to all the people engaged in the project. But before that, let's understand the principles and what are the characteristics. So one is active stakeholder participation. Okay, that is there. We expect that in all the agile teams or whatever practice you use, Scrum team, Lean team, Kanban team, all the stakeholders must participate, and they should be very active into it. Then small teams are focused. It doesn't mean that we cannot have agile in the longer or bigger projects. We can have them, but in that case as well, we divide it into smaller teams, and then we have practices in which we collaborate together and understand the output from the multiple distributed teams. So that's a different way how we handle. But yes, what we expect is each agile team, say Scrum team or any team, should be small, and they should be very collaborative. Okay, so iterative build and test development cycles. So yes, that's all, everything is iterative, and that's how it works. Okay, so and also we provide incremental deliveries and all the agile methods, and the code line, like the baseline behind any agile practice is to empower the team. The onus is in the hands of the team members, because they are the one who are actually committed to the project, and other people are contributing in a different way, but who is developing it is the team. So we should understand, we should empower them. Okay, and we should have lots of meetings. There are people who say that agile is not good because it has lots of meeting and it wastes lots of our time, but trust me, it's not like that. It may be like we are not following the right agile or right Scrum, but in the right way, it has lots of meetings, but you can manage it in a good way. These are the short meetings if we handle it correctly. It is important to have frequent meetings because it ensures that there is no communication gap and we are tracking the progress. Okay, and we focus on rapid delivery so that the customer can get the flavor of the product. They have invested the money, so they should know that what value they have got after investing that effort, that money, and discussing with the team. So yes, this believes in rapid delivery. So let's start in discussing with lean software development. Okay, so lean started from Toyota. Yes, they were early using in their manufacturing department, and because of that, at the time of recession, when all the other companies were like getting down, their profits were getting up, and they have actually expanded themselves across the world. So they are the one who have started practicing lean, and Mary and Tom Popendick, they have researched onto it, and they have identified the values, how we can use it into software development. So there are a couple of principles of lean. So one is eliminating the waste. Yes, there are lots of things which we have on the board, or which we are just keeping it as a backlog, but we are not using it, or it's just occupying the space, and we believe that we can keep it somewhere else, but not in front of us, because it's not helping our project, or not today. So that is what we should eliminate the waste first. Second, amplifying the learning. So when we go into the next iteration, whatever we learned from the previous one, or whatever we have learned from any meeting, we should encourage the practices which can avoid the bugs or avoid the failures that we have faced in the past. So we change our practices so that the failure that we face should not repeat again. Then deciding as late as possible. So you don't have to fix the requirements up front in the beginning. It's okay, it's fine that the requirements can be decided later as well. And delivering fast as possible so that you can get better feedbacks from the customer, and empowering the team. That's what I said. These points will repeat because that's important, that you should understand team empowerment is in the philosophy of agile methodology. So building integrity in, yes, and also seeing the world whole. So that's important. So this was about lean software development, in which our focus is on continuous interaction, and we use the team efficiently, and we have concurrent work that we do, and we automate the unit tests at the time of programming. So these are a few practices in lean software development. Then we have Kanban. What actually Kanban is? Kanban is about visualizing what is going on in the process right now. So the principle of Kanban also includes visualize what you do, limit the work in progress items, and enhance the flow. So you can see here that we have backlog items, and then we have projects, and there are multiple cadences here. So one is for the development team, then we have production fixes, and we have intangible as another team, another group, and then we have archive in the end. So here the focus is, first of all, the concept of queue takes a role. Oh, that is a pull, sorry. So concept of pull. So it's like right now when we are in a team, the demands are pushed on us. But in this case, we believe that when we are working on a stack of work, and when the stack of work is done, we will pull the demand from the queue, and then we will keep it into a work in progress. Again, all the tasks in work in progress are done, then we will take the task back from the queue. So it has a concept that in work in progress, we should keep a tag, or say a count of items into the work in progress. Let's say 4 items. Okay, so when the 4 items are done, then move it, then you pull it back, pull something from the queue, and we have to ensure that we should not bombard work in progress with lots of items, because you guys, if you are using Scrum or Kanban in your company, you might have seen there are a few instances when Scrum boards columns are filled with lots of tasks, and it takes like days or weeks, and then they move to the next column, which is not good. So in work in so here the philosophy is, take only those tasks what you can commit to do, or you can complete. So that is what it believes in. Reason, because when you have less tasks in your hand, you focus on completing it. So it's like you don't pick up the task unless it has a card on it. So that's a concept here. So you cannot keep the task into that column unless you have everything that is supposed to be done before it. Okay, so that was about the Kanban. Then we have extreme programming. extreme programming is the favorite of developers. Most of the developers, they believe that other practices takes lots of their time in meetings and all, and they believe they should focus more on to coding and all those practices. But yeah, XP is a disciplined approach to delivering a high quality software quickly and continuously. So if you see this picture here, you can see that release plans are made in months, iteration plans are made in weeks, acceptance test in days, stand-up meeting every day, pair negotiation in hours, okay, unit testing, it happens in minutes, and pair programming in seconds. So that's what they say. This should be the frequency how you should work. So extreme programming, when came, it has given a lot of good practices to us, and the two practices which I like a lot is test-driven development, okay, and pair programming. So in pair, like I can tell you about pair programming, it's a practice, it's an approach in which one is a driver and another is an observer. So it starts with a driver starts the development, okay, and they keep on discussing among themselves, but observer till that time think statistically about the future. I mean, till the time driver is coding, observer will identify the solutions or remove the hurdles for the future and will think in that manner. And after some time, they will swap their places so that now the driver is observer and observer is driver, so that both the guys will develop and think and collaborate and finally deliver an awesome product. So people think that pair programming takes a lot of time. I do not agree. Reason because the studies say pair programming takes 15% more time than what actually you individual has estimated. And also if you realize, if an individual has developed a piece of task, then it will go to bug fixes and other phases, which in pair programming, if you do, the volume of bugs that you will get is also less. So in all, it's like same time, so it won't waste time. But see the positiveness of this aspect, pair programming, that it will help you, it will help both the individuals to learn from each other. So it happens in three aspects, like expert with an expert, expert with a novice, and novice with a novice. Expert in an expert is like a creme, because it's like a blend of best people sitting there together and coding and talking and discussing. The expert in a novice is a very good situation for a beginner, because he can understand or she can understand the best practices in the coding. And then we have novice and novice, which we do not recommend into running projects, but it's good when it's in a college or something. Reason because instead of individual developing a bit, it's good that they are discussing and coming up with solutions. So that's about XP. Okay, and I will tell you in detail about the Scrum, because I'm taking these slides a bit faster because we have an hour time, but about Scrum we will discuss in detail. So about FTD is feature-driven development, and here you can see Mr. Ambler had designed this thing. It's about, okay, the major focus is on, first of all, creating an overall model, okay, and then once the model is created, and the outcome of it is an object model plus the nodes. And then the next is to create the feature list, okay, and after that it's a plan by feature. So like, okay, all the planning happens around the features, so even the teams are like distributed like that, or the pairs are made as per the features, or it is given to an individual, okay, you are working on this feature like that, so it is planned by feature. And then after that it is designed by feature and built by feature, which is very essential, because that is what takes 75% of FTD's time, and remaining activities, that is first three activities, take 25% of the time. So FTD has proven success to lots of teams and lots of projects. So now it's AUP, Agile Unified Process. Again, it has, okay, this process of course is incremental, but also has a serial aspect. That is, it has an inception, elaboration, construction, and transition. I think it's understandable. Inception is the beginning part, then elaboration where we analyze and plan or design, construction when we are developing things, and also in the end it's transitioning. Okay, so you can see that, okay, in modeling part, what takes a lot of time, okay, it takes a lot of time in elaboration, and implementation part, construction, takes a lot of time and efforts. And then we have test, and deployment, where you can see like same, and then configuration management, which is like in construction, it is a bit higher than other aspect, but it is across the 4 phases. Project management, of course, it is across the 4 phases. So this is about Agile Unified Process. And now we are coming to Scrum methodology. Yes, Scrum. Let's understand it first. Scrum, when it comes into picture, is first of all we have to understand the roles which plays an important role or important part in Scrum. We have 3 main roles: product owner, a person who owns the requirement, but it doesn't mean that he knows everything by himself. A product owner has to interact with multiple stakeholders, like he has to interact with the IT team, the management team, or admin team, or customer support. But this person talks to everybody and capture the requirements and understand the backlogs. Like he has to create the backlog. A backlog, just see it as a set of or a stack of books that you are supposed to read this year. So understand the backlog like that. So it is set of items that you are supposed to deliver at the end of a life cycle, or say end of the release. Okay, so this is what about backlog. So product owner is the person who owns the requirement and facilitates with other stakeholders and also interacts with the team. So the expectations of the product owner is that person should write the epics and user stories. Okay, epics just like Mahabharata, Puran, Quran and all. It's like big stories. Okay, a very big vision. Okay, and of each epic, you know that it has chapters. Okay, and each chapter you can consider as a story. So unless all the stories are not there in an epic, you cannot say it is done. And also you have to read the stories in the order it is mentioned. So same like epic as well. So there should be a priority of the stories that you should do in the epic, and it is just like a bigger user story. So user story is a way of getting requirements or writing the requirements in Scrum, which has a structure like as a user, okay, or say as a just name a user, a role. I want, what is your demand, then you write like that, so that what's the purpose. So as a user, I want to have a dinner at the restaurant so that I can enjoy the milestone that we have achieved in the project. So this is the way how we write the user stories, because it's very important. In a requirement you should write who is saying it. Okay, what is the role of that person, what that person is looking up for. There is demand, and finally what is the purpose of this demand. So that's how we write the requirements. So product owner writes the requirements, okay, and gives the walkthrough to the entire team. He's responsible for like giving any clarification, or he owns the product. So then we have Scrum Master. Scrum Master is a facilitator, I must say, like best buddy in any team. So Scrum Master is the person who facilitates all the ceremonies in Scrum. So ceremonies I have written in the 3rd column, okay, and this person interacts and ensures that a product owner is not getting too much demanding, and even team is not underperforming. There are no bosses in this culture. Everybody has a role to play. Okay, so it doesn't mean that they are managers. Okay, so it does, and also I must tell you, there is a misconception that people think in Scrum or Agile there is no role of a PM. No, they have their own role, but that's what I'm saying. Everybody has a role to do, and that's fine. That's okay. So Scrum Master is a facilitator, and then we have team players like designers, developers, QAs. So they are team players. Now, how it all works is, okay, first of all, we all go, like there is Agile portfolio planning, that is like we understand the portfolio of the projects. Then we have product planning, in which we understand what features we should take, what features we should not, and then release planning, in which we understand in what releases what all features we are going to build, or how the product going to look in the release 1, release 2, release 3. And then there are ceremonies that plays an important role how the Scrum is conducted. Okay, so first of all, how it starts? It starts with Sprint 0. Okay, Sprint 0 is called Zero Functionality Sprint, in which the aspects like setting up your project, and getting the devices and softwares, and then creating a high-level architecture diagram or detail-level architecture diagram, or say if designers are there, then functionality map and wireframes at least for the 2 sprints, and then QA, they should start like writing the traceability about high-level requirements into it. So these are sprint 0, and we are not delivering any functionality, but there is an expectation after that. When we start sprint, okay, sprint is a duration in which we work together and deliver a shippable product, a potentially shippable product. That's what a goal of the sprint is. So when the sprint 1 starts, the first ceremony is called backlog grooming, or many people say it as product backlog meeting. So the whole point is we understand about what we are going to develop or work on in the coming sprint. So product owner starts this meeting and tells us about what is his plan, okay, and then team sits together, understand the requirements, and they divide it into stories, okay, and the stories are not prepared, and that is what product backlog are all about. We can also help the customer by doing a t-shirt sizing estimations, and the product owner can understand that, okay, fine, this is it. Also, let me tell you that product owner is not always a customer, okay. Of course, customer knows about the requirement, but yes, in the projects like offshore and onshore, there is a practice in which we prepare like a pseudo product owner, a person from the company who understands the requirement, because most of the time customer is not available and team cannot wait because that will cost a lot. So that person takes the ownership to replicate himself as a product owner and understands everything, so that team can directly approach this person. So it's like that. So in backlog grooming meeting, it talks about requirements, we understand it. In sprint planning meeting, we break those requirements into tasks, and we see that, okay, and we estimate them. That, okay, first of all, what are the sizes of each task? So there are 2 ways of estimation. One is story point, which is recommended, and also we have hourly estimations. So there are different methods of doing it, like poker cards is one of them. Okay, so by this estimation way, we actually estimate all the items that the product owner has asked us for a sprint, and if we are in the first sprint, then we just start with few goals, and later on, when we understand our velocity is a speed by how much a team can burn down every sprint. So based on that, we go ahead and take up the task into the next sprint planning. But let's say we have taken few goals into the current sprint, let's say sprint 1, and then we have divided them, we discussed among ourselves, and we divided into tasks, and then we estimated them, and we understood, okay, fine, we are going to do these all goals into the sprint, and it will take that much time, and then starts the sprint. It's like every day in the morning we meet in daily scrum, in which we talk about what we have done yesterday, what is our plan for today, okay, and what are the impediments that we are facing, okay. So it's like team is talking to the team. It's not one person say listening or taking the feedback or taking the input from everybody. No, the culture is we meet in front of the scrum board. It's a common place. Every day in the morning we all come together and share our updates, like what we progressed yesterday and what's our plan for today, and impediments. So that is it. So that's what idea behind daily scrum, so that we all can see how much we progressed in achieving the goals of the sprint. So that's how we go ahead, and let's say in the sprint planning meeting, by understanding the size of all the tasks and goals, we realize that, okay, it's going to be a 10-day sprint, okay, and then at the 10th day we go ahead and give demonstration to the customer. And the demonstration is it's a functional demonstration. You show them a working product and get the feedback from the customer. And based on that feedback, okay, we understand how many goals or how many stories our customer has accepted and how many stories customer has rejected. So based on that, we get our learnings, okay, and we ensure that, okay, when we go into the next sprint, we again ask our customer to give us again the new priority of the backlog items, what he wants us to, or she wants us to work in the next sprint, and then we go ahead sprint by sprint and do these practices. So there is one essential meeting after demo that is called retrospective meeting. It's very beautiful meeting, one of my favorite reason, because here we talk among ourselves, the team talk to team, and we do not allow product owner into this meeting. Reason because we talk about what good we did, what bad has happened, and how can we improve. So since we want everybody to talk, open themselves and talk to each other, and I just consider this as a very lightweight meeting. It should be very casual. Okay. So 1 second, please. I think something has happened. Just a moment, please. Yeah. Okay, I'm back. So in this meeting, we share our ideas, and that's how it happens. And we get our learning, we take the learning from the retrospective meeting, and we ensure that in the next sprint we will improve, and so on. After every sprint, we do this meeting and we keep on improving, so that all the personal issues or technical issues or the challenges that we are facing, we try to mitigate all of them, and we in the end become a very good self-organizing or bonded team. So that's the idea behind retrospective meeting. And for sprint tracking, we use burn down charts, and when it's a Kanban project, the cumulative charts are the practices, and test management is just like the way we do it usually, and they have their own goals, like how they have to do. They have to write the unit test, like write the test cases and everything, traceability metrics. So that's there. And also one more important aspect, like as I told, we identify the size of the sprint in the sprint planning meeting, but usually there is one practice that there should be fixed size sprints. Okay, so that aspect is also important. See, understand, how is your project's nature? Is it a long running project, or is it a project in which team gets shuffled a lot? Because people they just go for Scrum as a Bible, like Scrum has told that it should be fixed sprint, but understand, put your brains in it, that is it like, okay, if it's a short-term project and it's like 2 to 3 months, or it's like you don't know, it's uncertain that developers are getting swapped, or designers are not there, QAs are not there, it doesn't make sense to make a fixed time project, because to have a fixed sprint project or fixed days sprint, the concept behind it is to identify the velocity. Okay, but there are ways and methods how you can also identify the velocity, then you can estimate by hours. Okay, so yeah, you just customize it based on yourself, but yeah, the core values should remain same, that we have discussed also in manifestos and disciplines. So also we prepare some artifacts here, like we have product backlogs, and we have retrospective points and definitions of done. Oh yes, this is very important point, definition of done, which most of the team does not prepare, or they do not know. So definition of done is how to mark the task as done. It can happen in all the aspects. How can I mark this epic as done? So have I do we have completed all the stories in this epic, or how can I mark the story as done, or how can I mark a task as done? So you can have different definitions of done for all the aspects. So even in your technical practices, you can have, okay, let's have unit testing for all the tasks, and there should be a peer review, and there should be external code review. So you should have your own definition of done, and ensure that you should abide it, because it definitely contributes a lot. So this is about Scrum, and there are a few things which we have drawn here. So I think I explained everything. So remaining thing I can take into Q&A. And okay, what makes Agile work? So I think, yeah, it's pretty understandable. It's a better collaboration with the business. That's very important. Most of the time, the cause for failure of Agile, frankly speaking, has understood, because there has been no management support. So that has been one of the major causes why Agile work failed at places. But yes, you should understand, you should like explain your business, or you should explain your management how effective it can be. So yeah, that adaptability to change, yes, you should have that attitude. Then communication among yourself, yes, it enhances the motivation. Okay, and these are things you can read here. Yeah, so there are a few beautiful graphs. You can see that what all Agile methodology or practices are very famous. So Scrum is 54%, 50% above all the other practices is used. Then we have Scrum XP hybrid, then we have custom hybrid, Scrumban, Kanban, and so on. And overall consensus, this is also one more recording in which, one second, I can show you. Okay, regarding the agile adoption, in which 70% people say that yeah, they are happy, it's very faster and they enjoy it, and then there are 11% people who say that they save time by doing it. Okay, and that's how the other data. It is based on the 7th annual Agile Development Survey statistics. Then there are different tools that people use, like they use Excel sheet, Microsoft Project, version 1, Jira, Greenhopper, and so on. And the survey says that people are more satisfied with the version 1 products, and also Jira, Linkit are few to name. Then okay, this is the way how we complete the Agile methods. Just recalling it, we talked about different practices in Agile. We just discussed in detail about few others, and we discussed in detail about Scrum. Okay, and we talked about the benefits of Agile as well. Okay, and Scrum. So now we will talk about the challenges. So I'm moving ahead. Okay. You can see that how many of people says that they knows Agile. Okay. So Scrum Masters or the people who have done CSM, they say that they know the most, and BA knows the least. And you can see like product owner knows 4%, there are 4% people, 4% product owners who say they know it. So yeah, there are very few people who knows Agile. So there is also like good Agile and bad Agile, I can say that, because many people, they think that they know it, but actually when they work in the project, you do not get the sense of it, because they somehow get inspired or influenced by other aspects. So Agile is a mindset again. So you should focus on ensuring that all the manifesto items, you are doing it. You are focusing on individuals and interactions. Also, you're not simply writing the documents, but major focus is collaboration with the customer and all. So yeah, you can see like Agile techniques which are employed. Yes. So there are different techniques that are there, and it is in the order like which one is very famous. If you can see daily stand-up, most of the people, they're doing it. Iteration planning, they're doing it. Unit testing, yes, people say that they do it. 70% people say that. Retrospective meeting, like okay, 69% people say that they do retrospective meeting and all. So yeah, this is how. And see few practices that happens very less, like continuous deployment. I think it is a new cool. You should ensure that if you have the continuous deployment in a project, you all will enjoy. And you see pair programming is also among the last few, and Kanban. So that is disappointing, because why people say that they don't do it, reason because they say that it will waste our time or it is not effective. But we should know, we should learn first. So that's very important. So these are challenges. So yeah, and leading causes of failed Agile projects. So let's read this. It's an important one. So none of our Agile projects fail. That's what people think, but it does. The company philosophy or culture at odds with core Agile values, it doesn't match. Then external pressure to follow traditional waterfall processes. Yes, it happens a lot. And then a broader organization or communication problems, which I personally have experienced as well, that has happened a lot, but how we deal with it and we mitigate, that's a solutioning part. The lack of experience with Agile methods. Yes, many times it happens that customer says to the vendor company that you should do Agile, you should follow Agile, and we just read some books and do it. I believe we should take coaching on it, or we should focus, we should check with few people who have done certification, or you should also think about doing some certifications or some good learning, or make a group of a Agile reading group. I will suggest that, because it's very important that whatever you're reading, you should apply it, and we should not just get influenced. So we should also question people who you think that are not doing Agile. You should stop them doing it. So lack of cultural transition, yes, one of the big reasons, and unwillingness of team to follow Agile. Now that's one aspect. They will be unwilling if we change the Agile, or if we are not following a good Agile, or say normal Agile. So yeah, they will get demotivated. So these are few challenges and concerns about Agile adoption. Okay, lack of upfront planning. Yes, loss of management control, management opposition, lack of documentation, lack of predictability, lack of engineering discipline, development teams are opposed to change. Yes, these are the biggest concerns that we have. And then this is the way how we read about challenges in this topic, and now our last task is conclusion. So let's start with that. Okay, so top reasons for adopting Agile processes. Yes, that's true. It accelerates time to market. Reason because now you are seeing your product in every 10 days or whatever is the size of a sprint. So that is the way when you see the product, you can figure out when should I go to the market. Earlier before the products were released in 3 months or 4 months, 6 months or an year, I know a project which got delivered, like which they were ready to deliver by 1.5 year after developing 1.5 year, and then it was scrapped because it was already out of market. So yes, in Scrum, agile approach, you see like iterative growth. You can see how you can take your product to market. Adapt to changing priorities. Yes, here in every sprint, after in every sprint, you can like come up with a backlog items. You can change the priorities. You can also it's recommended not to, if you are a product owner, then not to push your team to take new items in the running sprint, because already they have planned for 10 days and it won't happen like change a lot if you just get a new item done in the existing sprint. But even though it's if the product owner is demanding the team to adjust a task, then in that case what my suggestion is, first of all you see that how many items you already have in the backlog to burn, and then you realize, okay, fine, we can take that, but we have to take out the lowest priority if it is like that. Or if you think that you already have burned down a lot of tasks and you can manage with this, it's okay, it's fine, you can take the task in. So yeah, we are adaptable to change, better aligned to IT businesses. Yes, true, it increases the productivity. Trust me, it does. It gives you lots of learning when you practice agile scrum. If you are in your core competency as a QA or a PM or as a developer, you learn all the other aspects as well, like a business analyst as well, that okay, you know now how to comprehend the requirement. You sit with your team members, now you are also discussing with the customer, you're questioning them, you're understanding the business aspect. So that's very important. So that's there. Also, there are a few practices for developers which I must recommend here, that very important that you should learn if you don't know about unit testing, test-driven development or pair programming. These are the practices which are really helping other people and also enhances your delivery, or say less bugs will come. So it gives the project visibility, reduces the risk and reduces the cost and so on. You can read it. And then a couple of favorites are, it's incremental. Okay, it's incremental, that's a conclusion. Yes, it is. Then collaborative. Yes, it involves all the people in the project, stakeholders, product owners, scrum master, team members, and it's flat. So there is no hierarchy in it. You all can collaborate together, and only focus is to deliver an awesome product. So it's a straightforward, it's very easy to learn, it's not tedious one, it's adaptive. Yes, it adapts to change, so any point of time you can change the flow of your, or change the direction of your product development. Yes, and it's highest business value delivered in the short time, and higher quality, lower cost software delivered faster. So that is what I would like to conclude here. So yes, I will tell you something about QAI before we can start the Q&A session. So in QAI, we help in transitioning to Agile, and also we can embed Agile into your current processes or models like CMMI, and we also have practice for assessments. Okay, we can assess the maturity of Agile in your organization, and we can integrate your agile processes and tools as well to your existing system. And also we provide certifications, here you can read that. Okay, and we have our consulting and advisory to the leadership levels. Also we talk to the different project managers and also to the different groups of multiple companies. We can also handhold people and tell them about how to write user stories, estimations, planning, and other things. So this was all about company. And yes, I think we have all the tasks now in Q&A. So Q&A is open now. Please go ahead, guys. You can use the chat window. Okay, let me start with Nagraj's question, answering it. Okay, the cross-functional team. Okay, first of all, I must say that in Agile, when we say cross-functional, we have had worked with multiple teams who had, like, we have a design team different, we have a front-end team, then we have a back-end team, or we have QAs as well. So yeah, so one thing I will say that by using the Scrum or Agile way, we have all the people sitting in the same room on the same floor, or say on the same sprint planning meeting, they all discuss about the goals. So it's not like one team will deliver and then other will start. No, they all collaborate together into sprint planning and understand the different goals and epics and stories, and try to break them into tasks so that they can understand how they can collaborate and what are the dependencies on each other, and at time how they can solve it. So yeah, that's about the cross-functional team. Yeah. So even at the end of the sprint planning meeting, what I recommend to my teams is note down the days of the sprint, like if it's 10 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and then based on your estimates, try to put like when can you complete your this aspect of the story. Let's say for your story we have say design VD, or say design wireframe, then design VD, then front-end UI, then back-end APIs, then another step is say integrating the API with the UI and then deploying it. So let's say if we have multiple teams who are interacting, then in that case we can put the flow into it and we can identify the definition of done. So yeah, that's about it. So Vimal has asked, lower cost, how? When we expect changes at any stage and every iteration or sprint repeats all the steps. Okay, I didn't get you. Okay. Okay, if it's about the lower cost, okay, let me tell you first. When you do the way, like it's, again, understand, if you go to the traditional approaches, you are first of all analyzing, planning, fixing all the requirements, and then going ahead with the development. And then if a change comes, it takes a lot of effort to redevelop or change the entire thing. So again, if I say about the lower cost, it's in that phase. So that's the aspect, that in which the later changes can be introduced upfront and the decisions can be made, and then you don't need to rework. So that's how you can save the cost. Yeah, Suntarin has asked a question. Okay, on the Scrum methodology page in the sprint level actions, okay, section, what do you mean by test management? Say something about test management. Okay, first of all, it's not like Scrum says something about test management, but it's just like I've included test management is not a different part. It can be also included into a Scrum model. Okay, so the way how it practically runs into the sprints is your QA can understand, okay, this is the day I can get the build 1, this is the day I can get the build 2, and this is the day I can get the build 3. So by build 1, a day before it, I have to ensure my scenarios are ready, my test data is ready, and then I'm all ready to go when build 1 will come. So yeah, that's about how you manage your test cases, test scenarios, how do you ensure your traceability is maintained. So it's about that, Sundaran. Yeah. Balaji, how is the project tracking managed or maintained in Agile methodology? Who would be the owner of it? Okay, so okay, project tracking. I can say you that. Okay, Agile project managers are there in the team. Okay, it's not like we ignore the project managers into this Scrum culture or Agile culture. So project managers are there. They're effectively observing how the teams are running. They can have multiple projects in their portfolio, but when they can see the burn downs happening, the velocity of the project, so they can ensure that, okay, this is how it's happening. So now majorly it's product owner actually. So project managers are advisories, but product owner can see that, okay, if I have say a backlog of say 10 items and the total estimate what team has given is 250 story points and my team's velocity is 25, so he can figure out that it will take 10 sprints to complete all the story points. Okay, but also we should consider that there will be velocity in which in the velocity we have a learning curve. Okay, so project tracking and all things is product owner's aspect, but Agile project manager can advise that person. Yeah. Do you have any easy way to explain or calculating return on investment of doing versus not doing Agile? I think this will take a lot of time, Suntaran, but you can contact me on my email address, which I will share with you, and we can discuss about it, and I can share you some material on it. Okay, so Piyush Mishra, repeated changes in scope, how does one manage the change in cost? Okay, repeated change in scope. First of all, changing scope, again, understanding it in that way that suppose I'm a product owner and I got the demo from my team and I realized, oh my God, okay, this is what I was thinking this would look like, but no, it doesn't look like that. So can you please do this thing, or can you please remove this feature, or can you please add that feature? So that's how we are changing the scope. So again, understand, it's this is the approach how it works here, that we give working product to the customer accepts or rejects or come up with the changes, and that's how these repeating changes, okay, are works very efficiently into Agile. I mean, it's fine because how we deal with it is we follow the priority of the backlogs. That's how we care about it. So team simply concerns that, okay, product owner will come with the goal and the priority, and that's what we're going to take and take it ahead. So it's just not only product owner, but team also can give the inputs to the product owner that, okay, what shall we take into next sprint? So your question is about how does one manage to the change in cost during Agile? I didn't get that one. If you can elaborate, it would be great. So how can we deliver demo or use requirement which cannot be divided into smaller ones in single sprint? I personally believe, Sunil, any requirement can be divided into smaller one. Only thing is we should have all the team members together, and also with the stakeholder. They can definitely come and divide the requirements into smaller one. It is possible. Just simple question that you can ask your team is, what are the different steps to deliver this requirement? And when they will tell you the steps, there is the key. And then each step, how we're going to achieve this one, and then how you're going to achieve. So these are questions you can ask your team, and whatever is the outcome of it, that is the way you can divide it. So if I read your question again, how can we deliver demo or use requirement which you cannot be divided into smaller ones in a single sprint? Okay, again, so that is one aspect. So now it was about dividing the sprint requirement. That's what I told, but there is one more aspect. A used requirement can go through multiple sprints as well. If there is something, but you can show the progress what we have made in a demo. That's what you can do. So whatever you can complete another task that is there in the sprint, but as well as whatever progress you have made, that you can show to the product owner into the demo. Okay. Changes in scope might attract. 1 second. Okay. Changes in scope. 1 second, please. Might attract changes in cost of the product. So how to manage the changes and their associated costs? Okay, first of all, again, when I think this question is majorly from a product owner's perspective, because that person is a man with the money or woman with the money. Because it's very important, first of all, to understand that a change can definitely impact, but how we deal with it is, first of all, when a product owner comes with a change, a team estimates the change. Okay, this much effort it's gonna take. So once the effort is received by the product owner, then it's a time to take the call that can I afford it or can I not. So if that person can afford, it is fine. If not, then they can move it to the next release as well. So it is whole and soul in the product owner's pocket size. That's how the decision is made. So whatever changes you have, get it estimated from your team. Even though if your change has 1 to 10 features, and if you think say 4 features are costing me say 100,000 and remaining 6 features are costing me 50,000, I have a budget of 50,000, you can go with the 6 features and then you can upgrade the remaining features into the next release. So yeah, so that's how, I mean, that's how you can deal. I mean, you can talk to your stakeholders and come up to a solution that how you have to bear the cost, take the cost. Because thing is, cost is other aspect. Most important thing is minimum viable product. You should have a working product within your hand, and the product which you think can actually give you return on investment when you take your product into the market. Okay, thank you, Piyush. Do you have any other questions, guys? Okay, good, thank you so much. So I hope you liked it, and this is my email address. Please contact me for any questions you have. I will try my best to answer it. Thanks a lot, Alex, Suntarin, everybody. So yeah, we can keep connected, and also there will be multiple other webinars that we're going to conduct by QAI. In case you have any request or any specific things that you want us to conduct, just post your suggestion to me and I will take it ahead. Okay, so thank you so much again, and it's time to say bye-bye. It's late evening and my wife is waiting, so bye-bye, take care, have a good evening guys, bye-bye.